Maricopa County is county, so the greater area. We've lived in this area for 19 years now, and our school district then previously did a traditional calendar uh, several years and then transitioned to an extended school year. And then we moved school districts. That the district we moved to was also an extended school year. I work for the schools for the deaf and the blind. I'm an early intervention teacher and supervisor for children who are deaf and hard of hearing. That's our population that we serve for my area. We also serve kids with who have been diagnosed with visual impairment.
Okay, so before we get started, I guess I want to be sure that we clearly define. So you said you called it extended school year. So do you have additional days in your calendar, or is it just broken up differently?
It's just that it's broken up differently. So our district calls it extended school year, but basically it's the same number of days. It's just rather than doing it from August to May, which is what our traditional school calendar is here, we do it throughout the entire year.
So can you kind of explain, do you have a certain number of weeks and then a certain number of weeks off, or how does that fall?
For our district, and also, the students are required to be in school, I believe it's 181 days here in Arizona. I don't know if that's in other places where y'all are too. So there's required to be in school 181 days. And the way our district, I'm in the Queen Creek School District, the way this district has done it, the kids start school the third week of July. We start school, and then they will go through to October. The first week of October starts a fall break for us, and we have 2 weeks off for fall break. And it lines up with the first quarter. So it's really 9 weeks, and then there's a 2-week break. And then we go 9 weeks again, and we hit a week, those 3 days off that the kids get, or 2 days off they get for Thanksgiving. And then we get 2 weeks off for Christmas break or winter break. Then we go another 9 weeks. And in March, we hit our 9 weeks in March. And once we get there, we have another 2-week break for spring break, and then 9 weeks to finish out the school year. And it's usually around May 20th, May 26th, somewhere in there is our final day of school.
Okay. And you said district. So I guess my next question is the balanced calendar or the extended school year, is that implemented at every level or just?
So districts that have chosen to use that type of a calendar, it's all grade levels. So preschool all the way through senior and high school follow that same calendar. But not every single district. There are a lot of districts in the Valley, and not all of them follow the same calendar.
Okay.
So in the East Valley, some of the major school districts are Mesa School District, Gilbert School District, Chandler, Higley, and Queen Creek. Of those districts, Chandler, Higley, and Queen Creek are the only ones that have that extended school year calendar. Gilbert, Mesa, they follow more traditional calendar. And then there's a lot of districts that they interact with as far as sports and things like that go, that also follow a different kind of a calendar.
Which actually kind of brings me to the next question. How does that impact sports competitions with districts that are on a different calendar?
So what ended up happening, my oldest was in marching band. So they, were marching for football games and things like that. And so what would end up happening is that typically one of the weeks of that fall break or that spring break, there are competitions happening. So the kids who are involved in extracurricular activities, whether that be athletics or fine arts, my other children are in the theater program. And so typically what will happen is 1 week is completely off for those guys and they don't have to do anything. But the second week, whoever their coach is, or in the instance of my kids, the theater director or the band director, will have assignments for them to do, or they'll have to come in for rehearsals that second week.
Okay.
And football games still are scheduled. And again, they will have typically one Friday night will be a bye week for the football team or the basketball team or whoever it happens, probably not basketball team, football team or track. And the second week or vice versa. One of the weeks a game will happen. The other one will be a bye.
Okay. Let's see. So what was the most difficult obstacle to overcome as a parent and I guess as a teacher? How were you able to overcome it, and what weren't you able to overcome, or are there still obstacles created by the change of calendar?
So when my district and my previous district was Higley School District. So Higley, they first proposed it when my kids were when I think my oldest was in maybe the third grade. And what they did was sent out a survey to all of the parents in the district and said, we're considering doing this. What is your preference? And they, do we want to do a traditional or do we want to do an extended? And then they laid out some options for the extended school year calendar. At that time, I was all for it. I was like, extended school year, yes, I'm in, because in my position, I don't follow a school calendar. I have to work all year long. And for me to have kids at home during the summer break while I was having to work was a huge struggle. That was a long period of time to have to figure out what I was going to do with my kids all day long. And I couldn't figure it out. So I was all for it, but the rest of everybody else was like, no. So they voted it down, and then they revisited it again 3 years later. And at that time, the majority of parents were like, yeah, sign us up, let's do it. So for me, doing it this way has actually helped me immensely. I was having to find ways to take care of my kids. And at one point I was like, I have to ship them off to grandma. I was here it was just my family. My extended family is in Kansas, not here with me. So I would have to, in order to make sure that they were covered, I would have to send them somewhere else because I couldn't afford daycare all day long for every single day throughout the summer. I needed that option in school in order to make it. And so just by starting a few weeks earlier, it really helped financially for us.
Go ahead.
I think, you asked what is the hurdle, and the hurdle is kind of the same. People take off in the summer months. That's when they go on vacation as well. So planning family events, to maybe go do something with extended family or try to put that together can be challenging when we start school so much earlier than everybody else. And so it kind of puts a limit on some of those things. But we find workarounds.
So I know you don't teach in that district, but have there been concerns or issues with teacher turnover or the duty calendar with teachers that you're aware of?
Not that I've seen, not anything more than what is typical as far as the turnover rate will go. And I don't think that it's the calendar that has created that. I actually think most of the teachers like it. That 2 weeks off in October that we get, and those 2 weeks off that we get in March, people really look forward to that. And it really, it's a different kind of opportunity for rest because, as a teacher, when you go on break, you're thinking still about the job. You're still thinking about everything that needs to be completed or wrapped up, and then all the things that you want to get ready for. When teachers here have that 2 weeks, they actually have a period of time where they get to rest and rejuvenate. So I know that the teachers in our district do like it.
Let's see. So did they give, when they made this change, did they offer alternatives to other staff that perhaps didn't want to work a new calendar, or other families, or was that just encouraged?
I don't think I can answer that from a place of actually knowing what happened, but I know here in our area, there are lots of charter schools as well, charter school options. So my guess is that any of the families that couldn't match the school district's new calendar probably left and went to one of the charter schools. Or we also have a big homeschooling contingent. So I imagine some folks decided to try their hand at that.
Okay. I have a few more questions. Did you see any changes or increases in student achievement in the district due to, the balanced calendar or extended school year?
You know what, I would have to ask. And I could probably ask somebody for that, or go back and look at some of the standard scores that were posted. To be honest, what I did, there's a completely different topic. My youngest, when he was in 5th grade, they decided to do a little experiment and see if the research they had been reading was supported in actuality. So they decided to not send any of the 5th graders in my son's class home with homework. Everything was done in school, no homework taken home. And all of the kids, 100% of the kids in that class, their scores increased that year. And then they did it again in 6th grade and they stayed up. So, but it was a huge shocker going to middle school where again, we had homework because we were not ready. So I know in that it definitely did, but I don't know about changing the school calendar. I can certainly ask some of the folks that I know in the district if they have any information about that. We've been in this since it started, so nobody's suggested going backwards.
And that's good to know, because the other 2 places that we have talked with, they made some changes, or at least one of them did it for a few years and then stopped. So it has been successful in your area.
Very, very.
I would imagine, as with any big change like this, well, maybe perhaps most of the community voted for it. There were probably some who were resistant.
Yeah.
How did the school district roll this out to the community?
They did the survey both times, and then when the second time the community support was for changing the calendar, what they did was they waited an entire school year. So we got the information. They asked about it in the fall, and then they gave us all the information in the spring about what the results were. We knew what the results were, but they gave us a proposal of how they were planning to do it, and had open opportunities for folks to come and communicate with the board about some of the things. So they did that in the spring, and then we waited an entire school year and implemented it the following year. So we had the calendar, they put together the calendar. So if I could remember what years, I'd throw those down. So say that it was 2019 in the spring when they said, this is what we're going to do. They gave us the school calendar for 2019 and 20, stayed the same as what we were used to. And they gave us the new calendar for 2020 and 21 so we could prepare. So we had an entire year to start working our schedules, talking with daycare providers, looking for other options, whatever we needed. We had an entire year to get ready for it.
Okay. Well, you mentioned one of the questions that was submitted by one of our committee members, which was about childcare, and did the community come together around providing childcare for an alternative schedule, or how did that work in your community?
There's folks. We have different opportunities that are out there. So some of the districts will have. You mentioned Boys and Girls Club in your question. There are some of them. Not every community has a Boys and Girls Club, but some of them do. So the Boys and Girls Clubs were ready for that. They worked their schedule, and they were made aware as well. This is what's coming, so they could do staffing or alternating, whatever they needed to fix to match those schedules. The people who provided in-home care, we communicated with them and said, this is the change that's coming. How can you help with that? And what can you do? The school district themselves put together some childcare options during those breaks. So when we have fall break and when we have spring break, the elementary schools have camps that they set up. So it's like a childcare, and so they can sign up for that. There's a fee that goes with it, but it's not crazy, and the kids can go to school. They have lunch opportunities for those families who fall into the Title 19 and the free lunch programming. So they have those options, school lunch for those kids. And what's really nice too is they also offer for those kiddos lunches during the summer. So they set up a program where they can come in and get lunch during those summer months, which is nice. And there's just the school district did a lot there with their community outreach and setting up some after school opportunities and different camps. And in the summertime, they'll do week-long camps for different things as well that families can take advantage of if they need to. And some of them are, just part of the day. Some of them are longer programming that they have. And then of course, the commercial childcare agencies throughout the area, they're open all the time. So it didn't matter to them. They work with the families.
So kind of connected to that, some research has indicated that maternal employment has decreased in districts where there is a balanced calendar. I was wondering if you've experienced that or your district, what that looks like.
For our district as a whole, I'm not sure. We do have a large number of moms who are full-time moms and they stay home all day long. So for them, employment wasn't a factor. I know for me personally, it actually helped me immensely to change to this. And it was easier for me to find someone who could take my kids all day long for shorter time periods than it was for me to do the entire 3 months of the summer, 12 weeks or 9 weeks, whatever the summer is. It's really challenging for me because I'm not allowed to take off more than 2 weeks at a time throughout the entire year. And so I couldn't manage it. And my husband travels and he's gone. In the summer, he's not here. It's just me. So for me, it was a blessing.
Okay. Another piece of research, as we've been looking for and reading quite a bit of research, has indicated that in some communities where they've done a balanced calendar, property values have dropped. Have you experienced that in the community?
No, we have not. Although I don't know if that's a fair question for my area because we are like the #1 growing city in the nation. We bring in like 200 new people a week. My property value has just gone up. Houses are going like crazy around here. And I say it, we're not your typical town. A lot of folks are leaving California in droves and they're coming next door to us. So a lot of families are coming in, a lot of relocation here. So I don't think it matters what our school district calendar is. It's just this area. So I think comparing that for us is not a fair comparison.
Okay. And then there was
come on out to Arizona.
There was another question kind of connected and related to some research around decreased levels of teacher education. And I think that was basically because of lesser experienced teachers because of turnover. But I know you said earlier that you don't believe you've had any more turnover than a traditional calendar.
I don't think so. And one of the things that I didn't mention that just popped into my head is that both school districts, Higley School District and Queen Creek School District, the last Wednesday of every month is a half day. because they're doing teacher in service and teacher training on those days. They incorporate PLCs here. They incorporate mentor proteges, so they'll have a experienced teacher paired with a new teacher, and they have a mentor protege relationship to make sure that that new teacher is able to bounce ideas off of, or if they have questions or concerns, and that more experienced teacher kind of takes them under the wing and helps support them. And then their planned learning communities that they have that they interact with, that's very prevalent here.
Okay. At this point, all of the questions that kind of came in from team members I've asked, so I'm going to open it up. If anyone has a question that's come up through our conversation and or anything burning you still want to ask, you can unmute yourself and ask.
This is Bone Break, and I got logged in late. Some screw up with the internet, but did the teachers get paid more?
I don't think so. I think their salary is still, I think the teachers' work days are still 186. So the student days are 181, and I believe the teacher days are 186, or it could be 189, but I think it's 186. So as far as that goes, no. However, Red for Ed was a great big movement here, and Governor Ducey, our governor, promised that we would have a 20% increase in pay by 2020, which we got. So we did get an increase in pay. So Arizona is trying not to be last on teacher pay, trying hard.
But that wasn't a direct result of your calendar.
Not connected to our calendar at all.
So I know, Dr. Bonebreak, that you joined us a little bit late. This is, while it's called an extended school year calendar, it is the same number of days, just spread out differently.
Mm-hmm.
But now teachers can't get extra jobs in the 3 months of summer to augment their income.
Teachers, that's a good point to make, and that's funny because for my job currently, my superintendent has reduced our number of days of work by 10, and we were like, hey, we don't get to work over the summer. Teachers they will still take secondary jobs during that short break. And some of them will have like an agreement or a relationship, and they keep going back to the same place in the summer where they will come in and work. That's a big concern, for sure.
I do know one of the other concerns that was expressed in our last panel was around high school students and working in the summer. And has that, you're a mother of 3 teenage boys.
Mm-hmm.
Has that impacted their ability to get a job?
No. Mm-mm. No, it hasn't. Yeah, there's all of the fast food places around here, quite a few of the department stores, all of those employ a lot of high school students. So I don't think so. And we don't have, we're not a college town where we are. So they're not necessarily competing with students who are coming in to go to school either. So they do have opportunities.
Ms. Wallace, my nephews actually, she mentioned their district. They live in Gilbert and they attend high school in Chandler, a very large comprehensive high school, much larger than ours, in fact, and they are on this schedule. They moved to that system about 5 years ago from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a very traditional calendar. And what they found was that they had a much more rigorous experience. Their teacher pay is lower than ours is in Kansas. And they have had no problems at all getting jobs, as including things like lifeguarding and working at all kinds of fast food places. So all 4 of my nephews have gone through this system in the high school system there in Chandler, and have had a very good experience, and are very successful at ASU and doing very well moving through this system. So they made that transition and have actually really enjoyed it and had a good experience there. I think it's been a good opportunity for them.
Thank you for sharing.
I know Chandler. Anyway, sorry.
Are there other questions from committee members?
How long have they been doing the extended school year?
I believe, so Chandler School District was the first to do the extended school year, and they were the only one for a few years. And Higley School District followed suit. That was the district I was in at that time when they did. And I believe when we finally did that, my oldest was, I think he was 10. So 10 or 11 years now that we've been doing that for the Higley School District. And Chandler, from the time that my friends were going, when our kids entered school together, they were doing that type of a calendar. So Chandler's been doing it for probably 15 years.
Has there been no movement afoot to increase the number of school days like the rest of the world?
There's talk about it, but it hasn't, nothing's been changed. And I have to say, for us here in Arizona too, another, which is not gonna, well, it does get pretty muggy where you are, pretty sweaty. It's hot here. And so for the kids to be able to go back to school that last part of July, we have what we call is our monsoon season. So we do experience humidity, just not on the same level as y'all do. But it is not fun. It's nice to have the kids in an air-conditioned place where they're not having to figure out what they're going to do for the day. And it's really nice and organized. It is a nice benefit for us to, during those summer, that really hot part of our summer, for them to be able to go to school. Because otherwise they're just sitting in the house doing nothing because it's too hot to do anything. So that's, again, a little bit of something that we have here that you guys don't have to battle as much.
We have to have everybody go out in the fields and harvest hay and oats and stuff, like 99% of the kids do in Kansas. Sorry. But there's been some suggestion, but it just hadn't taken off. Any idea why not extending the number of school days?
I don't, part of it, I think, is just, this is what we're used to. And also, you'd have to have more money to pay the teachers for more days, which is also a struggle, especially when, like with Arizona, we are pretty close to the bottom. I haven't checked lately, but we're pretty close to the bottom of what we pay our teachers, unfortunately. We're trying to fix that because we want more teachers to come out. But money has to come from somewhere to pay for those extra days.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone?
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for all this excellent information. My question is the student attitude. So I guess they're used to it now, but initially, how did your children and their friends, how did they react to the changed calendar?
July came really fast that first year. And also, it was a little bit of a challenge. We took like I said, my husband he's not here in the summer months. He works in another state. He's in the golf industry. So he's in another state in the summer months, again, because it's hot and people don't want to be outside. So we would go up and spend time with him. And my oldest, like I said, was in marching band, and he would have to come back. So he would have to leave our 2-week vacation with him early to come back for marching band practice. So that was a little bit of a challenge. And that was kind of that was really difficult, although he kind of liked it because it gave him an opportunity to be at home alone. he kind of liked that. Hopefully he didn't have parties. I don't think he did. So it was difficult, and July does come fast. So I think this past summer, our first day of school, I believe, was July 24th or 26th. I can't remember the date, but it's usually right around that date. And it comes, the kids are like, oh my gosh, it's coming really soon. But part of them is ready, because it really does, moving into that third month of summer, our kids would get bored and they just didn't have anything else to do. They'd done all the fun things in the play and they were just getting really restless. So this gives them a chance to get back to school into some sort of order that they're used to, and they're not having to figure out how to entertain themselves, or I'm not trying to figure out how to entertain them for the entire day. So that's a benefit. My kids absolutely love 2 weeks off in October and 2 weeks off in March. And it has afforded us opportunities to do a little bit more traveling that we weren't able to do before, because it's spread out rather than having to be all during the same summer break. So my kids have loved it. It was hard the first year, hard to get used to, and starting early, but I don't think they would go back. I wish they were here. We'd ask them. I don't think that my kids would go back.
I know that in Chandler, they also run a summer school program. Does your district run an additional summer school program during the first portion, like that part of June, first part of June?
We have like camps or different programs that families can sign up for, and it'll be like a week to week or a 2 weeks set up. It's not necessarily an extended type of program. They also have online learning that kids can take advantage of in the summer. So those kids who want to get a jump start on some of the required coursework will take summer classes, and then we'll shorten how much time they have to be in school. Sometimes they cut out their whole senior year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you joining us and answering our questions today. We appreciate your expertise. So thank you.
Well, thank you for letting me share with you guys.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye. So as that ends, I thought I would share with you our plans for some extended learning opportunities in Topeka Public Schools for this summer. We have, over the last 2 or 3 years, ran some enrichment opportunities for students. And this year we will again offer enrichment. We did send a survey out to teachers, and that survey really came back pretty clear what time frame teachers wanted and or were willing to come back to do some summer programming. And so we actually have several programming items going on. The first one would be credit recovery for high school students. And so for our seniors who walk that may be short a half a credit or a credit, I think we allow them to walk with up to 2 credits short. They can start the Monday after graduation working towards getting those credits completed, and they can work until those are completed. We actually have until September. We hope that they will get those done in the month of June, and by mid-July. What we have found out is that the sooner they get in and get those things completed, the more likely they are to get it completed. And so we want to be sure that we offer that immediately upon walking. And then other freshmen through juniors can start on June 7th for credit recovery opportunities and some credit acquisition opportunities as well. And that will take them through June. We will have staff in our high schools that can support students who need help and assistance, and or they need to come up to take an assessment. After the July 2nd date, they can come up by appointment to take an assessment. And so they will have beyond June, but really encouraging them to get as much of that completed in June as possible. And then we have our Native American summer program, and that will start on the 14th, and it will go from the 14th through the 25th. It's a 2-week program, and it will run from 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon for those 2 weeks. It is really focused on Native American culture, cooking, clothing, crafts, those kinds of things. And you do have to be a Native American student to participate. And then we will also have what we typically run as our summer let me flip back. We do regularly run an extended year special education program for students. That's at Meadows, and it will be at Meadows again this summer. And it is from the 14th through the 2nd, so it will be a 3-week program. And then we will run our general education enrichment programs from June 21st through July 9th. That's a 3-week period. It's a little bit shorter than we've done in the past, and that is primarily because I think teachers wanted a little bit of a break before they started back up with summer school or summer programming this year. So last year we offered everything online. This year we will offer things online and in person. And we will go back to many of the things that we had before last summer, like photography and drawing and theater, coding and robotics, culinary arts. Many of those things will be offered in person. And then some of those art opportunities will be online as well. And then we will offer grade level specific enrichment opportunities. So our hope and our goal is to offer it kind of like 3rd grade for 3 weeks. Each week would be independent of the other. We know our families have a lot of different things going on and can't perhaps commit to 3 weeks, but they may be able to commit to 1 or 2 weeks. So those weeks will be, they'll sign up for them independent of each other. And we are looking at how we focus in on some standards that perhaps we know we typically struggle with. For example, fractions in 3rd and 4th grade. So a week of fraction fun. But the idea is that it will be hands-on and activity-based and fun. Right now, we hope to also provide transportation for our kids. And then we also have our meal service. Right now, our ESSER $2, the legislature is wanting to supplant those. They want to trade out our ESSER dollars with our weighted at-risk dollars. And so that is not based on the guidelines from the federal government, not a legal move. And so we're just kind of waiting to see how that falls out before we plan extensively, for transportation and all the bells and whistles that we would like to be able to provide. So, and I'm open to answering any of your questions. No questions over summer programming?
Ms. Wallace, I would just like to add that we will also be providing a summer opportunity for both Sheldon and Pine Ridge as well.
Very good. And the dates on those? Are they similar?
Yes, looking at starting on June 21st and running through July 16th.
Okay. Also want to be sure that you guys are, when I say grade level, we are starting with preschool. So preschool through 8th grade. And then the high school students have the opportunity for credit recovery and acquisition. Ms. Haas?
I know in the past, the district has opened up the extended learning, like the camps, the coding, cooking, things like that, photography, to students that are outside of the district. Is that going to be opened as well again, or is it going to be closed depending on the monies? And if it is open, will those students have to pay a fee?
So, good question. I anticipate that our enrichment opportunities would be open to any students in Shawnee County, and any students outside of Topeka Public Schools. There would be a fee attached. I would anticipate that because all of the districts around us will receive some of their own ESSER dollars, and there is a big push from KSDE to offer summer programming and after school programming next year to address those learning losses. So I anticipate that our area districts will provide some of their own opportunities this summer. So we might not have as great a participation from them as we have in the past.
What is the program that Washburn Rural High School offers that the 501 high schools don't, and which has attracted the collegiate 8th graders to join Washburn Rural?
Are you speaking of a specific program, or are you asking if there is one?
There is one.
Are you referring to the IB program?
That may be. How is it different than the AP classes or anything?
So AP classes are offered for in Topeka Public Schools. An AP class can be taken, and you can take the AP exam and submit your score for credit to the university that you're going to attend, and or you can purchase the concurrent credit from Washburn University, because our if our AP course is taught by someone who is highly qualified by university standards, and most of our AP courses are offered for concurrent credit. So often our students will purchase that credit while they're taking it, and Washburn has given us a 50% tuition break for any students in AP who want to take it for concurrent credit. But they offer that same opportunity to our surrounding districts as well. IB is International Baccalaureate. It's a rigorous, more, I guess, prestigious program in which you get a stamp on your diploma. I mean, a seal of completion for an International Baccalaureate, which is has a board, much like AP has a board that determines, that the courses are rigorous and meet their standards. But not every course and not every student at Auburn Washburn is an IB student. You choose to participate in that program. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I don't really understand how it differs, except you get a stamp on your diploma, but evidently that's
Well, I
why.
think there's a different path of courses that you take that are governed by the IB board that ensure that the course is rigorous and meets their standards, which is slightly different than AP or a general education path of courses.
Slightly different, but no more rigorous, or it's more rigorous?
Well, no, I mean, it's more rigorous. It's supposed to be more rigorous. I personally can't speak to that. We've not had an IB program in Topeka Public Schools, and I didn't participate in one. So it would take a little bit more exploration. Dr. Hackett, I know you've been in a few different districts. Have you been in an IB district?
I have, and Dr. Bonebrick, it's an identified plan of study for 4 years, and it is very explicitly for those who are college bound, and it's highly rigorous. And there are the exams, much like AP has through College Board, they have exams that you are required to take. The same thing is true also for the IB program. Also, they have a capstone research project that begins in their junior year, and they complete that capstone through their senior year. And it's a rather it's parallel to what you might experience when you're defending a thesis at the college level. And that's part of the requirements for completing the International Baccalaureate diploma.
In our AP program, we don't require students to take the AP exam. They can choose to take the AP exam, or they can choose to take it for concurrent credit, or they can choose to take the AP course for a weighted grade, but not take the exam.
And with the IB diploma, it's a separate diploma from the others.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I wonder, because we are losing students to Auburn Washburn School District from Topeka Collegiate, who used to all go to Topeka High, and now none of them do.
Well, I know one who is. He's
Who's
my, he's my son's friend, and he's an 8th grader at Collegiate, and he's going to Topeka High next year.
How many are in his class? You know?
Oh, not many. I don't know. Yeah, but not many. But I also wanted to address a bit about the IB program. So, I've taught in some international schools in South America and in Africa, and the IB program is pretty common in international schools, and with a big focus on preparing students to be like more globally minded, global citizens. What TPS has that Auburn Washburn does not have is a K-12 dual language program, preparing graduates to not only be bilingual, but biliterate.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we're going to talk soon more about all of that, but that's something we have no, in fact, no other district in Kansas has a K-12 dual language program.
EK through 12.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Pre-K through 12, yes, absolutely. Yeah, very, very proud of it. So, okay, yep, that's all I had to say about that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions about summer programming? Okay. If you're interested in teaching, the job is posted. Tell your friends. Okay. Thank you so much. And our next meeting is on, I believe it's Thursday, April 22nd.
Great. All right. Thank you, Ms. Wallace, for facilitating this meeting.
And also, as you think about the next meeting, maybe process the last couple of meetings that we've had, so we can do some breakout groups and have an opportunity just to share and process our thinking around some of the information that we've learned. All right. Thank you. Have a nice evening, everyone.